Hey guys, it's Jayma Malme here, and today I wanted to share some of the stamp sets that are on sale in Close to My Heart's big Stamptacular sale this month, and share a bunch of artwork. You can see all these layouts that I have here showing different ways to use stamps. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, the first stamps that I want to show you is the Beach Party Scrapbooking stamp set. Now I have this layout and several other layouts using this set. I got lots of use out of it, and I love that it's good for the pool and for beach, any kind of like summer warm weather kind of stuff. I used this stamp in particular quite a bit, as well as these two. How cute are these little glasses? So I do believe that the Beach Party paper collection and scrapbooking kits are also available. So I have shown this in a layout share before, but what I'm doing today is just pulling all the different layouts that featured stamps to give you lots of good ideas. So I've used this stamp here for the title. A lot of these other elements are stickers. We've got some stenciling back here, and then I used this Keeping Cool by the Pool as another sort of title element in my cluster there. And then I really love this little effect down here with the like wave look border on the bottom. So this and most of the layouts I'm going to show you do have process videos, so I will create a playlist and link that down below with all of the layouts that you see here today, so you can take a closer look and watch the process video for any of these. Here's another layout I did with that same stamp set, so you can see that sunshine arrow here. I've got this in the page protector already because I've got some hidden journaling and a flip flap and another photo that I thought was cute but didn't really fit on the page very well, so I love using flip flaps on my layouts. I did use stamps in another way, so if you look closely, hopefully you can see the texture on these little sandbanks down here. I used a background stamp set, and I used this one right here. This is called Background Elements. I love these background stamp sets. They don't look like a lot, but they really add a lot of texture and have so much potential on your layouts. Now, all of these splatters here I used with shimmer brushes, but you could use these stamps instead if you want some more controlled splatter. I know a lot of people are a little bit intimidated by just kind of splattering with a brush or the shimmer brush, but this will help you with controlled splatter. And then this is another one of my favorites. It's called Perfectly Imperfect Backgrounds, and there's a couple more splatter stamps. This one's great because it's small and can tuck into nooks and crannies, but there's also all of these other patterns that you can use to create your own patterned paper. Like say you're doing strips on your background and you want to add a little bit of texture and interest, but not a lot. You can do tone-on-tone pattern stamping with these stamps. So lots that you can do. So let's go ahead and move to the next layout. Here's another 2-page layout I did, and I used a cut above layout kit to start, which is all pre-cut and pre-designed, and I kind of like did my own thing and changed it up quite a bit. I did add a pocket plus insert, so this is something you can add between your pages to add a lot more photos, and you know, it's a good place to add journaling because you can just add it on a pocket card in here. So I decorated a lot of those pocket cards, and you'll notice here there's that same sunshine arrow. It's working for lots of different themes and topics. I'm starting with more of my like outdoorsy layouts, and then we'll get into other topics. This right here is also a stamp. So here's a look at that one with the sunshine again. And then this one is called At the Park. And this Play All Day, I just inked up that, and then inked up that, and then inked up this, so that they're all on one line here. I've used this a couple other layouts as well. And then I want to point out this title to you. So I used the Moxie Alphabet stamps and dies. So these dies come on a really big magnet sheet, and what I did was I cut it in half, and then I had to trim off a little bit extra too to fit into my little plastic envelopes here. So that way my dies are the same width as my stamps, a little bit less, and they can store in my my upright containers that I put my stamps in. I am going to be doing a craft room tour next week with the creative design team. We're collaborating on that, so you'll get lots of great ideas, and I will show you exactly how I store my stamps, as well as show you the rest of my craft room. So that's going to be really fun. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. But let me show you what that looks like on the layout. So what I did was I stamped it in Versamark ink, which is an embossing ink. I sprinkled it with white embossing powder, heat set it on black cardstock. So we have that really bold outline. And that's what I really love about this stamp set. It is a higher price point because it is 2 sheets of stamps in here and a big set of dies, but it is a really good price in the sale right now. So I use this on a lot of titles, and you'll see it on a lot of the layouts I'm going to be sharing with you. Okay, now we're going to get into this Wander Scrapbooking stamp set, and I love this stamp set. I've used it a lot, and this layout is a great example of stamping on a layout because I focused on different ways. I think there were like 12 ways to stamp on your layout in the video that accompanies this, so that will be down below in the playlist. But I used this stamp set as well as another one that's not available anymore, but you can see I've got the stamping here, I've got the like little scatter stamping here, I've got some border stamping here, I've heat embossed and cut out this little embellishment here. This is a stamp here. Let's see, I created the title with a stamp, and I created this with a stamp. So lots of different ways to use the stamping, and there's even more ways that are not even on here, but I just absolutely love this title, and that is from here. So in this one, I just stamped the title and then cut it out like a rectangle, and in the next layout I'm going to show you, I cut out each individual letter. So let's go ahead and hop over to that layout. All right, I've got this in page protectors because I also have flip flaps on this layout. So I fit lots of extra photos on this layout and some journaling in there. And let's take a look at all the stamping here. I've got stamping on these strips here. So that's kind of what I was talking about, how you can create your own patterned paper by just stamping, and this is tone on tone. So it's glacier ink on glacier cardstock. I cut out my title here. I cut out one of the little stamps here. This is a stamp that's cut out. This little backpack is in that nature stamp set that I showed you. So lots of fun ways on here as well. Here's some more random, or not random stamping, but stamping on my little background elements. So another super fun way to use that set. All right, now this layout is a Cricut layout. Everything here was cut with my Cricut, but I wanted to show you this set, the Scoops and Sprinkles, because if I had this when I made this, I totally would have used it. I love it. You've got the dies, so you've got the die for the cone, and then you've got this stamp that's actually bigger than the cone that you can stamp to create that waffle look here. And then you've got the scoop. There's 3 different scoop dies, and then you can stamp these different background stamps on there to create, designs on your scoops. And then there's little sprinkles and a cherry and these little sayings on there. So remember we talked about the background stamps. These stamps can also just be used as background stamps to create texture on anything that you're creating. It doesn't have to be on the scoops or the cone. So that is another reason why I got this stamp set. Even though I haven't used it yet, I knew that I would get a lot of use out of it by using these as background stamps, as well as to create my own ice cream cone. And by the way, I do have a layout and pictures picked out and planned for this stamp set coming up here on my channel soon. All right, now I've got a few different stamp sets to show you on this layout here. Now, this layout is one that I created in the Creative Design Team's free event for a 1-year anniversary. So I will link to that Facebook group down below because there was a whole class on using stamping foam for this layout. And I used a few stamp sets. This one is Are We There Yet? I used this place stamp right here. But then you'll notice that these banners across the top look a little similar to this triangle here. I actually used just the die that coordinates with this without the stamp to create these banners. And then all of these banners were created with the stamping foam, which is a really awesome tool, and it's back in stock now on my website even. And I used this background stamp for several of these, And then I also used household items, believe it or not, to create these textures. So be sure to go and check out that video because it was awesome, if I do say so myself. And there were also 6 other free class videos from the rest of the creative design team over in that event. So be sure to check that out if you haven't yet. And then the third stamp set I used was this one. It is called Lovin' Right Now. So I used this little camera here in a couple of places, and notice the texture on that. I stamped it onto the patterned paper I created with the stamping foam. I also created this little background right here with another stamp set that is part of the card making workshop kit for the Are We There Yet collection. So here is that other camera that has that fun texture there. So lots of fun ways to use stamps on this layout. I also wanted to point out that when I showed this layout in the class, I had these photos on this side, and I just thought that that bright green was a little too harsh to be the first thing you see when you were turning to this page. So I changed it so that these photos were on this side, and that kind of matches with the rest of the layout. And then when you turn this, you can see all of these photos, which are super cute, and I wanted to include, of course, but now you get the first impression of the layout like this, which I think is a little bit less distracting. You've taken in all of these photos, and now you can turn over, and I've got my little journaling there. Okay, so here's a double layout that I did in 2 separate videos. I did this single layout here because this was an event that we did during the week when my in-laws were visiting. And then I did this side with the Pocket Plus insert and the pocket page. So this was super fun. Lots of stamping on both of these. So I'm going to show you those stamp sets. Okay, so first up we've got this bigger, faster, stronger set. This does have matching dies for lots of the images, and I love this because it is sports themed, but it's not any specific sports. You can use it for anything. So over here, I've used it for these little number 1, foam fingers over here. These baseballs are from an older stamp set that is retired, but just give you another idea of, using your stamps as embellishments and cutting them out. Either these were fussy cut or a lot of stamp sets come with dies. And then we have the same Moxie alphabet stamp set that I showed you earlier right here. And then over on this side, I used my more outdoor themed stuff because we did a hike. And so I used, this one here is what I used for these little critters here that are super cute. These little mountains are from this set here, so I stamped those. And this one you can see has a little two-tone effect, so I showed how to do that in my video. And then this one also is where I got some of these trees. So some of these trees are die cuts, some of them are stamps, just to give a little bit of different texture and dimension on there. And then I have also done some stenciling. This is a stencil, and we've got stenciling back here as well. And then we've got some other die cuts. This is from the Leaves and Sprigs die cut, and you probably saw that on a lot of the other layouts I showed as well. But lots of fun stuff on this layout. It is in the playlist down below if you want to see the process videos. And I almost forgot, I stamped this with Mimi and Papa in an alphabet stamp. So it's on a pocket card that I cut down a little bit, and then I made my own little subheading there. So I really love having different sizes of alphabet stamps because you never know when they're going to come in handy. So I really like having this smaller font too. Okay, you guys, I absolutely love this stamp set. It is called S'more Adventures, and I had so much fun creating this layout. This layout actually I had created several years prior, and then decided that I wanted to add these camping embellishments to it because I had gotten them more recently. So I did some coloring with my tri-blends. So this was stamped on sapphire ink, and then I added just some shading with my alcohol markers. I colored all of these with my alcohol markers. I cut out some of the titles. This is from that as well. And then this is super fun. So this mountain, it's hard to see here, but you can see it better here, has the stitching on it, and it doesn't have a stamp, it's just a die, but I added a little shading here with the markers as well, added shading on these trees just to give them all a little bit more dimension. I did have another pocket plus here, so I love these. I didn't add more stamping to this, but then I added this here and this here, and then these little guys. So lots of fun additions. And then I don't know if you can pick up, but there's actually some background stamping on here that I had done at the time of creating this layout originally. So that was just, like I mentioned earlier, a fun way to add tone on tone background stamping to just plain cardstock to dress it up, but still have it be, you know, kind of subtle, not too busy. Okay, here's a layout I created very recently on my channel using this Snow Much Fun stamp set. So I created all of my own embellishments for these embellishment clusters by stamping them and coloring them in and then cutting them out with the coordinating dies. So I did add a little bit of Cricut cuts to this as well as just die cuts with my snowflake dies. But I love how I was able to stamp these and then color them to match my kids' ski gear. So I've got just the colors that they're wearing to really highlight those and bring them out, and it's just so fun to be able to do that. Of course, another pocket plus insert because I love those. And then this side has a flip flap here, and I was able to incorporate a QR code to add a video from this trip. This was a fun ski trip where my kids took lessons for the first time. I can't tell you how worth it was to put them into ski lessons. We've done it one more time and it like made a world of difference. So the first day of this Vail trip, we had them in lessons, and the second day it was just learning with mom and dad, and I was blown away at how far they had come. So if you guys are skiers thinking of taking your kids, like, I highly recommend the lessons. It was so worth it. But anyways, this was just a fun trip, and I love that I was able to fit a lot of photos in just a double page layout because this was a weekend trip and I had a ton of photos and I didn't want to spread it to two different layouts. I wanted to keep it all the same. So I just love how this turned out. It does have a process video that will be linked, and I created my own snowflake paper here too, and I showed exactly how I did that with a couple of different stamp sets. So love how that turned out. Okay, now we're moving away from the outdoor adventures and we've got more like everyday life kind of stuff right now. So these are the two stamp sets I used on this. I used a lot of these stamped in different colors on different color paper from this Floral Blooms stamp and die set. And then this Ooh La La macaron stamp set. I love coloring these macarons. They are so fun, and I just keep a bunch of them pre-stamped in there, and then when I feel like coloring, I'll just color these, and they're so fun to use on cards as well. But it worked out perfectly for this layout because I was able to add them to match the layout, color them and match the layout, and my son is having his first taste at some macarons and really hamming it up for the camera there. So I love how that turned out. This does have a process video, and just note how I've got a single macaron and two doubles. I just trimmed it, and then this one is flipped upside down, and that way I was able to add it to both sides of the page. All right, this layout uses a lot of stamping. So first off, we've got that same Moxie alphabet I've shown you before, and on this one I actually put it up on some thin 3D foam tape so that it has a little bit of dimension. And then this background here, let me take that out so you can appreciate it more. I've got flip flaps on this layout, so I was leaving it in, but I created this stamped border. I stamped all of the black, and then I used this stamp set here. This is the Life Sahoot card making stamp set, but I used this little splatter right here. You could use any of the splatters from those other sets I showed you as well, but just to add a little bit of color because I thought that it looked a little plain when I stamped it just in black and white. I really like that added pop of color around there. So there was that. Now this stamp set that I used was a special last month and the month before, so it's not available in the sale, but I wanted to show you this one. This is one that I just got recently in the sale and haven't used yet, but this would work well as well. And this is quite an old stamp set. It is super cheap, like it's 60% off, and there are other sets that are up to 60% off. A lot of die and stamp sets are 50% off. So this is a really good deal. I want to say it's like $10, you guys. It's such a good deal. So that would also definitely work around here. It has a lot of dies as well. And what I really like is that this little journaling box actually has a coordinating die as well. So everything shaded in blue has a die. So this is super great for any time, but also I specifically got it because I'd been wanting it and I don't know why I didn't purchase it, but my sister-in-law is getting married. So this is going to have a lot of good sayings and flower clusters that I can use in her wedding album that I'm creating. She's a scrapbooker too, but she created my wedding scrapbook, so I am going to create hers. And then here's a look at those flip flaps just to add a few more extra photos on this layout. This does have a process video so you can see how I made this background and put the layout together. All right, so this is the Moments That Matter stamp set, and that is what I use here for this title. This is a more recent layout that I did, and it has a lot of die cuts in it as well, but this is the stamp set that I used, and it's got a lot of great titles. I got it without the coordinating dies, but there are dies for these little icons if you wanted to have the matching dies for those, but I really got this stamp set more for the titles, and so I opted not to get the coordinating dies. All of our stamp sets that have coordinating dies are also available without them if you prefer not to have them, and of course it makes it a lower price point. So this has a process video that will be linked down below. Okay, this layout has lots of fun stuff. We've got Cricut, we've got stamping, we've got stickers, we've got splatters, all kinds of fun stuff. So let me show you the stamp sets I used. The Fresh Paint Scrapbooking, I used this paint drip down here to look like paint dripping. I used this star, and there's a, let me turn this over so you can see it better. There's stars and hearts, and I did some rock and roll stamping and showed you how to do that in the video, and then cut these out to create my own embellishments. Lots of these are stamps. And then a lot of them are stickers, but there's stamps that match the stickers. So this pizza one is actually a sticker, but you could stamp it and cut it out with the dies. And then there's some other really fun things on this stamp set as well. So let me just show you this a little closer. So this does have a video, and this Fresh Paint collection I believe is still available. I think the sticker sheet is available too. The scrapbook kit might even be available. Here's another example of that Moxie alphabet. This one also is up on some thin 3D foam tape. And then this mailbox stamp set, the dies for this are actually sold out, but the stamp set on its own is still available if you wanted to just have the mailbox and these little letters, and there's lots of other fun things that are on the stamp set as well. But I wanted to just show you mostly another way to use this alphabet stamp set. Okay, I wanted to show you both of these layouts at once because they are very different takes on a back to school layout. So this one uses more traditional back to school icons. We've got that same Moxie alphabet, but then I also used this stamp set here called Smarty Pants, and this is a really good deal in the sale as well. But I've got the You're a Star, the scissors, some of these are stickers. These little shoes, I stamped 2 of the shoes onto a patterned paper and cut them out. This is from the stamp set, that little notebook paper. And so yeah, lots of fun stamping. We've got the background stamps from those controlled splatter that I showed you earlier. I've got that throughout the layout. And then over here, I decided to go in a more autumn fall direction for this one because my daughter's dress really inspired me to use these colors because back to school, at least for us here in the US, is usually in the fall or late summer, but the fall worked. That's when the photos were actually taken. So I used this Crisp Air Scrapbooking stamp and die set. So I've got the flowers layered up. I've got some of these leaves and more of the flowers. I also used this die set here, which is on clearance still. It's 50% off. It might be even more than 50% off. And that's how I got these scissors and the ruler and the little pencil, the glue bottle, and there's some other icons on there as well. And then this is a alphabet stamp set that I used and just cut out the little banners with the die. And then this school is a stamp set as well that I trimmed out just what I wanted. So this does have a process video, and the process video shows you how to make these fun little shakers as well. I was scraplifting myself in this layout, so you'll see another idea using this same sketch with shakers as well in this video that is linked below. All right, I've got 2 layouts to show you using this Simple Leaves stamp set. This can be used with the stamps or just with the dies, and so I'm going to show you that. I love this stamp set. So let me show you this side because I took it out of the page protector. These both have foot flaps to add extra photos on the layout because Thanksgiving we took lots of photos this year. So these stamp, that's the leaf stamp, and die cut out around that stamp. And you get the dies for the veining. So let me show you what that looks like in the stamp set because it's kind of confusing. You see this, and the dark that you see is the stamp, the blue that you see is the outline die cut, and then the white that you see are the veins. So I've got a bunch of them cut out here already. So this is the stamps, and then this is the dies, and you can use these without the stamps. The stamps add a fun little extra texture, but the next layout I didn't use the stamps, so I'll show you just the dies. So on this layout, which does have a process video, I did rock and roll stamping to make sure I had some fun dimension to that stamp there, and then stamped it onto different colored cardstock and cut them out. So this layout uses just the dies from that set, and then I brought in this one again and used this for some of the leaves as well. Now this layout was a video, part of the class for the creative design team CDT Creatives membership, and it featured ways to use holographic paper, and we did a lot of trial and error of things that work and don't work with holographic paper, and then I created this layout. I also stamped some of the elements here from this pumpkin spice card making stamp set. There's also some fun elements you could use from this stamp set, which is the pumpkin spice scrapbooking. I love this sweater. I haven't actually used a sweater on a layout, but you can see I colored a bunch of them to look really fun. So there's lots of cute little things that you can use with this stamp set as well. But let me just bring that closer so you can see that this is just those Simple Leaves dies. So it's just the outline die and the vein die, and I used just some of the vein dies on their own without the leaves even behind them. And then here I've got some of them using holographic paper. I also created a pocket plus on this one to add extra photos, and I brought in some of the same elements here to make it cohesive with my layout. Here I've got a Christmas layout. This is also 2 separate process videos, and I used this tree here that came from this Christmas story scrapbooking set, which is super, super cute. It has a die, or of course available without the die as well. But let me show you that close up because it makes a nice big embellishment. Now that is actually the only stamping I did on this layout, but I did a lot of stenciling, a lot of scattering, using some die cuts. And so in this video here, I actually showed how to create my stencil and then of course how to use it as well. So hopefully that's picking up that there's like a little Christmas tree stencil with iridescent glittery stickles gel. So it's really, really fun. And then if you're looking for more Christmas stamp sets, there are quite a few in the sale. So there's this Christmas story card making set that has been really fun for making cards. I love that it cuts out all of these little sayings here. I've actually sent out all of my cards that use these. I did use all of these on cards, but I sent them all out. So this one is the Unto Us a Child is Born. It is a beautiful nativity set, and I love that each of these has its own die. And there's also these palm tree dies, and these little palm trees will layer on top of this as well. It doesn't have the stamp, it's just a die, so it creates a really pretty silhouette look. Same with this little Bethlehem building as well. And then this one is called One Star, One Night, One Child. It does not have coordinating dies, but I created some really pretty cards with this. You can see them on my Instagram channel. Actually, I think you can see several cards that I made using these sets on my Instagram channel, and all my social media is linked down below, so you can go check those out. All right, I got one more layout to show you. All right, I saved one of my favorites for last. This is actually a layout that I created for Close to My Heart's convention a couple of years ago with the As You Grow collection. So I used this As You Grow stamp set. It's hard to see. I don't have a picture because this was a prototype, but I used a lot of the images that were on there. So it's got a lot of like mother and baby images with the little turtles and the little foxes here. And then there's lots of leaves and flowers. So I used a lot of those images on this layout, including this one. So this is a layout that I used to document my daughter and pictures of her in my baby blanket from when I was a baby. And then I had my mom send me a bunch of baby photos of me with that baby blanket when I was younger. So I love the Pocket Plus and how I was able to bring this in and, show the correlation between this baby blanket that I so loved as a baby. And I was able to journal about that and my side of the story of the baby blanket with me. So another fun way to stamp, I used some Cricut cuts on here. These were cut with the Cricut. I mixed the Cricut leaves with the stamped and die cut leaves. I colored everything with a water brush and ink pads. So I kind of created my own watercolor paint just with our ink pads. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and got a lot of great stamping and scrapbooking ideas. To shop the sale, check out the link down below and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. Thanks a lot and have a great day.